Let's get into another Big East game tonight. Everybody's kind of wondering if Ed Cooley's got this Georgetown team actually kind of good and a factor inside the Big East. They beat Creighton 81-57. They hammered Creighton tonight. There has been, I know Doster was talking earlier about the fodder online about Ryan Kalkbrenner for Creighton. Creighton falling to 7-5 on the season, 0-1 to start off league play in the Big East. Georgetown now 9-2. They certainly love getting their first win in the Big East out of the gates tonight against Coach McDermott's team. How are we feeling, Rob Doster, about Georgetown? Are they actually kind of good under Ed Cooley?
I mean, look, they did this without Malik Mack, their starting point guard on the roster. Jaden Epps had an unbelievable game, 5 or 6 from 3. Micah Peavy had one of the most complete stat lines I think I've ever seen in a college basketball game. 20 points, 8 boards, 8 assists, 7 steals. I think 4 of those 7 steals led directly to dunks at the other end of the floor. Georgetown is significantly better. Like I think anybody that has watched them for 5 minutes, it's very easy to see that. You have 2 guards that can create. You have a big guy in Thomas Sorber who hurt his ankle towards the end of that game. Hopefully he ends up being okay. It didn't look like it was all that serious. He walked off on his own. And Micah Peavy's like a big athletic wing. And then if you can kind of surround that core 4 with enough pieces that are just like can do a job, like Jordan Burks, like Drew Fielder, like I think that they have a chance. I don't know if they're tournament good, right? I would say they're probably not tournament good. But they have a chance to make some noise, and I think they're probably going to get like 6 or 7 wins in the Big East this year. What I will say is like this was more eye-opening for me about Creighton than it was for Georgetown, because I mean, without Pop Isaacs and with Fedor Zugic still in eligibility limbo, they just don't have the horses, man. Like Stephen Ashworth is not a point. He is not Baylor Shireman. He is not Trey Alexander. They don't have somebody that can kind of break you down. They don't have somebody that can do anything other than kind of run Greg McDermott's set. They don't have the same kind of defensive pieces. Jemiah Neal is fine, but like he's not good enough to be able to do what they are going to have to ask him to do. Like this team they don't have the weapons that they need. And when you don't have the level of athlete to be able to break something down, you kind of just run your stuff. And if it doesn't work, you're screwed. And usually you're able to get past that because Greg McDermott can run really good stuff. But right now they're basically playing Ryan Kalkbrenner with 2 guys that are stretch 4s together and Mason Miller and Jackson McAndrew. And that's just like, I just don't see how that's going to end up. You got too many big guys, too many slow guys. I just don't know how that works. So the injuries and the ineligibilities have really, I think, impacted this team more than anybody else in college basketball right now. Because they look like they're going to be lucky if they make it to the NIT at this rate with the way that they look tonight.
Yeah, if this was a middle school hallway and Georgetown and Creighton were playing each other, Georgetown would have been suspended. They just bullied them today. They every time you look up, they're punching it on the break, yelling, screaming, aspects getting ripped. Like this was about more than basketball. Yes, Creighton, is struggling, but they're not 24 points worse than Georgetown. Come on, man. Like that's just not the case. Georgetown just seized the day with physicality. They were taking the rock, they were dunking, they were out rebound. I mean, it was quite a show from the perspective of just seeing how Georgetown played today. Ed Cooley's kind of imparting that Providence image a little bit onto his team. And I don't care what the stats were today. Georgetown would have beat them in anything, ping pong, pool, swimming, pickleball, whatever you want to call it. That's how they came out. And, Creighton's got to start looking inside themselves and have a little pride.
Well, I'll start with the Big East Conference as a whole. And I think over the years, right, like Georgetown and DePaul have been the 2 teams where it's like, that may be 4 wins for us, right? Add 4 wins to our ledger throughout Big East Conference play. And I think DePaul has gotten better. We'll see if that reflects in wins this year in conference play. But the hope was that, okay, if Georgetown is going to emerge, right, and get out from like the depths of the Big East,
Depths of hell.
You can't have other. You can't have.
Depths of hell.
Yeah, you can't have other teams falling into that same spot. Like that can't happen for Creighton, and that can't happen for Seton Hall, because like you're already like this. The conference already has been hitting a downward trend for tourney berths the last Rob, like 4 or 5 years, right? It was 6, and it was 5, and it was 4. Like it's going in the wrong direction. So you need one of these teams that are towards the bottom to emerge and be a legitimate threat, right? Or at least be like a mid-tier spoiler throughout conference play. And we'll see, like, can that beat Georgetown? I thought today, John, you mentioned it, right? Like Creighton just got bullied, and their style of play is what's hurting them the most right now, because they have always played an incredibly soft coverage defensively. And I talked about it before, it leads to not fouling, right? Which is great, but you never turn teams over because you're in like a deep drop. And then when you play against a guy like Jaden Epps, who all he wants to do is create off the bounce, all he wants to do is take 18-footers, all he wants to do is take threes off the bounce. Like if you're going to drop all the way into the paint, like that dude's going to have a field day. So something has to change. And like Ashworth, 7 for 17 tonight, 21 points. Like you're going to need him to have 30 a game, and that's just not sustainable. And that's not something that I think is going to be conducive to Creighton winning many games. So it's amazing how, where Creighton was to start the season. You get a massive win against Kansas, and then that's it. Like it feels like it's really gone off the rails, and the Pop Isaacs injury doesn't help.